a chilly autumn night, October 16, 2001, Corporal Michael Douglas Beverly stood alone in the dim glow of a street lamp in Chester Gardens, Pennsylvania, his police car nearby. Beverly, an 11-year veteran of the Chester Police Department, was a fixture in the neighborhood. Known for his kindness, he was often seen talking to residents and keeping the streets as safe as he could. That night, he was reaching into his pocket for his keys, preparing to head home to his wife and 5 children, who he adored deeply. But the quiet was shattered. Suddenly, sharp cracks split the air, echoing down the narrow street. Beverly staggered and collapsed, his uniform quickly staining with blood as multiple bullets ripped through his face and chest. He lay there on the cold pavement, clutching his keys. His weapon remained holstered, untouched. Within moments, the wail of sirens filled the night, and officers poured into the scene, rushing to Beverly's side. They called his name, but his eyes were dimming, his body trembling with his last breaths. In the days that followed, the investigation grew desperate. Beverly had been a model officer and a dedicated family man who even wore a bracelet to honor his former partner, Connie Hawkins, who was killed in the line of duty. To everyone who knew him, Beverly's murder was unthinkable. The streets he'd once patrolled were filled with whispers and grief, yet no one seemed willing to break the silence. Chester, notorious for gang violence and an undercurrent of fear, had its citizens terrified. And at the center of this terror was a notorious gang called the Boyle Street Boys, who ruled their territory with an iron fist. Rumors circulated, pointing toward a young man Beverly had tried to guide, a teenager named Maurice Day. Beverly had called Day's mother, Gloria Adams, just minutes before his murder. Gloria confirmed that Beverly had often reached out to her son, hoping to mentor him, to keep him away from the dangerous allure of the gang. But Day, who had grown close to the Boyle Street Boys, was becoming increasingly entangled in their world. Days turned into weeks, and Beverly's case seemed to fade into the cold. But the detectives of Chester refused to let his death be forgotten. A year after Beverly's murder, a break in the case emerged from an unexpected source. A woman arrested on drug charges confessed to having seen Day pull the trigger on Beverly. She recounted the fear and rage Day had carried, fueled by resentment toward the officer who he thought was ruining his street reputation by befriending his mother. The detectives relentlessly pursued this lead, chipping away at the gang's wall of silence. Then, a breakthrough came when a former gang member testified, revealing Day's boastful confession about the killing. Day's own cousin came forward too, haunted by the knowledge he'd held back, and testified that Day had admitted to the cold-blooded murder. In court, the grim details spilled out. Beverly had been marked for death simply for being a decent man in a ruthless world, trying to save a young soul who wanted no part of saving. At 20 years old, Day was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Beverly's family, justice meant closure, though not forgiveness. To this day, those who knew Corporal Beverly remember him as more than a cop. He was a man of compassion, a protector of his community, and a father who cherished his children. And though he walked the rough streets of Chester, he walked with integrity, his memory lingering as a reminder of justice and the tireless pursuit of truth.